crawlers, fritters, bear claws. I'm getting hungry. Randy's Donuts, 2170 South Rainbow, at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow. Randy's Donuts, always alive, but always worth the wait. Visit randysdonuts.com or just stop by at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow. You've seen Randy's Donuts in the movies. Now taste them for real. One taste and you'll be back again and again. Randy's Donuts, 2170 South Rainbow, at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow. KSHP North Las Vegas, 107.1 FM, 1400 AM, K29 6HP North Las Vegas, and online at kshp.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for the host with no filter and the millennial who keeps him in check. Get ready for the stories that matter to you. It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro and Jamie D.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. It is Pushing the Limits. So glad you could join us. Good to be back. I had a sick day, I guess we could call it, yesterday. And no, I wasn't playing hooky. Good to be back alongside my co-host, Jamie D. Jamie, thanks for holding the fort yesterday. How's it going, my man?
What's up, Brian?
Got a lot to go over. That's for sure today, as we always do on this show. West Virginia, Hall of Fame coach Bobby Huggins is in a lot of trouble. We're going to get to that. He was on the Bill Cunningham show, another right-wing echo chamber show. We'll get to that. Donald Trump and some of his testimony about the Jean Carroll rape case is mesmerizing, to say the least. We're going to play that coming up here in just a little bit. We had this Las Vegas school shooting where luckily nobody was killed, thank God. But we had one person that was shot, and now we have an 18-year-old in custody. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to dive a little deeper into this Texas mall shooting, where now we're learning more about the shooter. And because he's Hispanic, a lot of people were saying, oh, he can't be a neo-Nazi. He can't have white supremacist tendencies. Well, turns out they're wrong, because you don't have to be white, apparently, to be a white supremacist in this situation. We will be talking about that as well coming up here in a little bit. And then at the bottom of the hour, I know it's going to be a really good debate. He's been on the show before. His name is Nefi Kaliki. He's a CCW gun instructor. Remember, he made national news months back for making racist jokes about gun control at a meeting that he had. He made, but I want to dive deep with him into what are his solutions to ending all the gun violence in this country. I think we're going to have a really good debate. So he's going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour on that. Richard Dreyfuss made some really weird comments about diversity in the Oscars, and I'm a big Richard Dreyfuss fan, but I got to be honest with you, this was a little bit out there and into left field, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. And we got my friend Channel 8's very own Chris Matthews from Channel 8 Sports, VGK with a huge win last night. And you want to talk about huge. Game 3, they were just dynamite. They did a wonderful job in defeating the Edmonton Oilers, now taking a 2-1 lead in the series. So we'll talk to Chris Matthews about that, among many other things, Jamie. But, Jamie, in this day and age, and you should never have used it, but in this day and age, you can't really use gay slurs. I think we all could agree. If you're one of those people, listen, I'm going to be the first one to admit, when I was in middle school, right, or even high school, and this is wrong. I'm not defending it, but I'd be, oh, you're being gay. People make statements like that, not even meaning derogatory towards gay people, but we've all heard people say that. And unfortunately, I've said that at times too, but I was very young. Someone's argue I'm still very stupid, but I don't talk like that today. But in middle school and in high school, oh, you're gay. Or some people would use the gay slur that starts with the F word, which I'm not going to say here on the show. I don't condone it. It's wrong, but I've said it before when I was much younger. But you don't expect it from somebody that's representing a school as a college basketball coach. And Bobby Huggins has been a basketball coach for probably longer than I've been alive. He's the head coach at West Virginia. And Bobby Huggins went on a show called The Bill Cunningham Show. For those of you who don't know who Bill Cunningham is, he is a right-wing buffoon who does a show. He is transphobic. He is homophobic. He is red meat for the Republican Party. Donald Trump won the election in a landslide. COVID's a hoax. Let's talk about transgenders 24/7 and how they're ruining for society. So that was Bobby Huggins' first problem is he went on that show, which he shouldn't have gone on to begin with. So I want to play some audio for you, Jamie, and our listeners, because this made some national news and it's all over today, and now people are saying Bobby Huggins could be fired. You might be surprised with my opinion on this, but I want to play the audio first. This is Bobby Huggins in a playful conversation with Bill Cunningham, but then it gets pretty bad where Bobby Huggins attacks transgenders and those that in the gay community. Have a listen to this.
Absolutely. I mean, I tell you what, any school that can throw rubber penises on the floor and then say they didn't do it, my God, they can get away with anything.
Rubber penis. Was this
I think that was at the Crosstown Shootout, wasn't it?
It was transgender night, wasn't it?
What?
Was that it?
It was a Crosstown Shootout. Yeah, no, what it was all those Catholic I think.
All right.
They were envious they didn't have one.
All right, so there you go. Obviously disgusting comments, ridiculous. I don't know what goes through your mind, Jamie, when you hear something like that. But what goes through my mind is it's pretty disgusting. And there shouldn't be a place for that, especially somebody that's the head basketball coach at a university, right?
Personally, I don't put it past them. I don't put anything past a lot of people in the sports industry, especially those who are older Caucasian men. Majority of the times, they are either DL or they are homophobic themselves. This isn't the first time we've heard this from other people who are in big positions of power. We've heard sexual comments against women that are very degrading. We have heard very horrible things about gay people in their community, and a lot of times, like I said, you find out that they're DL and they're doing things on their own that they shouldn't be doing, but they don't want to get out, and they just have a horrible mentality about what it means to be gay. I don't put this past them. This doesn't surprise me whatsoever. And when you made a statement about you wouldn't expect somebody who runs a sports team to not respond like this, I mean, look at all the things that happened in history so far. We have a bunch of other head coaches that believe that men shouldn't be soft and they shouldn't do certain things. So I don't put this past them. This bothers me. I think it's horrible that you would even say something like this, because why are you treating other people differently when they're doing nothing to you? But also, why are you using derogatory terms to describe somebody who, again, didn't do anything to you?
So he says it twice, and then he makes a comment about transgenders, and then the host laughs and then calls him great. I didn't play that part of it. Oh, Bob, you're great. The host's name is Bill Cunningham, and he spreads this right-wing propaganda and hatred towards transgenders all the time. And what people don't understand, I don't know if they're not smart enough to understand, or the First Amendment, freedom of speech, pertains to the government. It doesn't pertain to private business. It doesn't pertain to universities. It doesn't pertain to a radio station. Your words have consequences. The First Amendment and free speech pertains to the government not being able to interfere. The government will not be interfering with Bobby Huggins and his job. The university is a private entity. The radio station is a private entity. So when people say, oh, is the First Amendment gone? It's an ignorant statement, and you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. It doesn't pertain to private business. Now, here's my opinion on this, Jamie, and you might disagree with me on this. I don't know. But I think the person that should be fired here is not Bobby Huggins. The person that should be fired here is Bill Cunningham, because he's been spewing this hate speech, transphobic, homophobic propaganda for decades. He is your typical middle-aged, right-wing echo chamber radio host that talks about how transgenders are going to end the world every day, talks about how wonderful Donald Trump is. He talks about how, gay people are a threat to society every day. That's what Bill Cunningham does. So this is red meat for him. He should be fired. Bobby Huggins has apologized. I don't think that's enough. He didn't make any excuses, which I appreciate. He said he accepts whatever comes his way as far as punishment, which I can appreciate. Here's what I want to see Bobby Huggins do. I want to see him take some training, sensitivity training, some type of training like that. And then I want to see him put his money where his mouth is. I want him to go to some LGBTQ events. I want him to raise money and be a part of the LGBTQ community. I want him to go to events and talk to people and raise money and support the community. And if he does that, I think he should be allowed to keep his job. You want to suspend him for a little bit? I don't have a problem with that. I don't think his livelihood should be taken away, but I do believe he needs to pay a price, punishment, suspension, and let's turn this into a positive. That's what I think we need to do in these situations. Instead of just cancel people, and in some cases I think people deserve to be fired. But in this specific situation, I think let's turn this into a positive. Let's have them raise money for charity and do some good things for the LGBT community. That's my personal opinion on what should happen here. I don't know if Bobby Huggins is homophobic, but I don't think, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's been a coach for so long and I've never heard him say anything like this before. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and think that he was in a horrible fashion trying to be funny, in a horrible fashion trying to make jokes that were homophobic and transphobic. He was wrong. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say to myself, maybe he didn't even understand what he was doing and it was just dumb and he was trying to be playful and he made a horrible mistake. I think the radio host should be fired because he does this every day and he knows exactly what he's doing. I don't know how you feel about punishment, but that's how I feel.
Personally, I believe that if you're going to call for Bill Cunningham to be fired, you should also call for Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, all of them to be fired as well because they all do the exact same thing. I believe that at this point we've made a space for them to do these things. We've made it okay for them to spew this different rhetoric and have these different conversations that are not good for any other demographic other than their own. And if we're going to do something about it, we need to start with actually making sure that everybody is being held accountable. I have a few things I want to say. Personally, I don't disagree with what you're saying about him having, Bob Huggins having to go through training and be more accepting of gay people. But I'm at a point now in my life where I don't want you to accept who I am. I just want you to be respectful of who I am. We shouldn't be forcing people to accept other people because it's fake acceptance. I want to know how you truly feel about me so I can move around you, so I can respect and be safe in my own space. I know for a fact that people don't like me because I'm black. People don't like me because I'm energetic. People don't like me because I'm outspoken. Now, if you don't like me because of my sexuality, or if you don't like me because I'm a male, or if you don't like me because of whatever, that's on you. Now, I personally don't believe that we need to shove anything down anybody's throats no matter what opinion you may have about anything. However, we need to learn how to respect people more, and it does come down to putting yourself in these people's places. For example, people won't admit it, but trans people out here are actually loved a lot by people in Vegas. Will they admit it? No. There are a lot of trans women and men out here who get a lot of sexual play from straight men, quote unquote, and gay men. But will they admit that? No. Will they be asking for? Will they start asking for statistics? Yes, because people are trying to hide their own lives. I don't care what you do in the sheets. I don't care what you do in your own space. However, I can still respect it. I'm going to say this. Am I attracted to trans people? No. That is not what I'm interested in. That is not how my sexuality works, and that's okay. I can say that without putting down trans people. There are beautiful trans people out there in this world. Mm-hmm. However, we have to take a step back and realize when you make statements like, well, I don't think he's homophobic because I never heard him say this before. Brian, you don't know this man. You don't know who this man is.
Right, I don't.
Right. So making statements like that is also very damaging because we're giving those people protection and we're also trying to make an excuse for them. For what? Because I haven't heard you say that. Like, for example, I can say that same thing about you, but Brian, I've only known you for about, 4 months now? Mm-hmm. I can sit here and say that I know exactly who you are, but until you show me who you are, I won't know. A lot of times we don't remember that people are good at hiding their true selves. People are good at playing the field. A lot of these people know how to not say the right things at the right times. I mean, the wrong things at the wrong time because they've gone through this before. This was a time where he probably felt really comfortable. He said what he meant. And it's one thing to call somebody gay like we did when we were younger. I think that's all stupid. I'm glad that a lot of people are getting past that. This still happens today, but it's not as much as when we were younger because we have social media and a lot more people fighting for their rights. But when you use words like the F word, when you use words like the N-E-R, the N word with the hard ER, when you use the C word, those are very extremely derogatory terms that don't just happen in everyday language unless you're used to saying those things. So I don't put things like this past that person. I think Bob Huggins should be held to account for this. I believe that it doesn't matter if you are a great basketball player, a great coach, you should still be held accountable for your actions. If you want to know what I think should be done, I personally don't think he needs to get fired immediately. I do believe that he needs to be on suspension. I do believe he needs to take a dock and pay. And I do believe that we need to start pushing for better rhetoric for our sports players. There are a lot more people in sports that are gay than we even get to mention or talk about because they don't feel comfortable with coming out. That's how I feel about it.
Well, yeah, certainly a lot to dissect there. As I said, I don't know Huggins. And if I don't know somebody, I like to give them the benefit of the doubt.
For what? You don't give Laura Ingraham the benefit of the doubt just because but hold on, because she speaks what she believes. You don't give her the benefit of the doubt, but because this person said something that you don't think they would ever say.
Yeah. So let me just give my response there. Let me start over. I don't know Bobby Huggins. I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt because Bobby Huggins is very different from Laura Ingraham. In fact, I would call it a 180.
You don't know what these people are behind the scenes.
Okay, so let me just give you 180 of why I believe there's a big difference between Bob Huggins and Laura Ingraham. Laura Ingraham is for years on a daily basis says homophobic, transphobic, racist things on her show every single day.
Yeah, because she gets paid to do it. We don't know what Bob Huggins is doing behind the scenes.
Right.
We don't know
So
how
let
he's
me-
making his. We don't know how he's making his team feel behind the scenes. We don't know what he's saying to his team in practice.
Yeah.
We don't know how he's putting down gay people in his practice. A different rhetoric he spews. I mean,
So
I
let
don't put anything past anybody nowadays, because when people get the chance to say how they really feel, they'll do it.
Right. So let me just continue what I was just saying, which is if Bobby Huggins was making homophobic comments or using the F word or making racist comments in practice, I'm pretty sure we would have found out
No,
about
we
it
wouldn't.
by now. No, I disagree with you 100%.
A lot of people, I will tell you this, as a sports player myself, I have let a lot of things go that coaches have said. Even though I may not be in that community, it still affected me. There's a lot of things that Caucasian men have said to me in places of power as a black man that has affected me. They said as a joke, and I let it pass because I wanted to be in a space where I can learn, I can get better, I can be better as a sports player, or better in a classroom, or better in a job. And just because, my thing is this, just because social media makes it easier for us to expose people doesn't mean that everybody feels right to expose people. For example, my situation with my apartment situation, I didn't feel right exposing that on the social media for many reasons. I didn't feel right allowing people to understand what I'm going through because I thought people were going to judge me. I didn't know if people were going to be on my side, and so that's just a small part. So think about how people feel when they're not even comfortable with their own sexuality, and they're on the football team or they're on the basketball team, and you're saying things like, "Don't be a P word, stop being a girl, get up, don't cry." Like, come on now.
Right, but again,
Don't be an F, because I've heard that a lot of times
Right.
as a sports player, even in college.
So I'll say this, and we can disagree, but I guarantee you that if Bobby Huggins was using those terminologies in practice every day, because I know coaches that have been fired for doing much less, if he was using those types of derogatory terms in practice, he would not have a job right now.
He's also a white man. He has privilege.
Well, I understand, but I'm not going to assume that Bobby Huggins is a racist or he hates gay people or trans people. He said some really dumb things on a radio show, some really stupid things. But if somebody says something really stupid on a radio show, I'm not going to assume and compare this person to Laura Ingraham, as I said, because you made a comparison to Laura Ingraham. Laura Ingraham actually says, we're not guessing, she actually says things on a show every single day, as opposed to making an assumption that Bobby Huggins might be saying something in practices every day, and I have no evidence to believe that. All I know is that he said some horrible things on a radio show. He's certainly going to pay the price for it. And Laura Ingraham, yes, I do believe the Sean Hannitys and the Laura Ingrahams, because they say dangerous things on the radio that can hurt people or kill people, and they do it almost on a regular, everyday basis. And that's why I do believe that they shouldn't have jobs, but unfortunately they do. The reason why I'm saying let's turn this into a positive when it comes to Bobby Huggins is because he'll have the opportunity to do so. I don't know if they're going to fire him or not. He needs to do some things, proactive things, helping the LGBTQ community, maybe meeting some trans people and having conversation with them, listening to them. And I believe if he does those things, you can turn it into a positive.
What do you think that would truly do for them? I mean, because I can get up and go be put in a space that I don't feel comfortable in, smile for the camera, say I enjoyed it, and go back home and still call them the F words, still not appreciate them, still treat them like they're bad and they're not human when they're around me.
Well, if there's evidence that he does that, then I would agree with you.
And now let me make this very clear. I'm not saying that he does any of these things. I'm speaking I'm trying to hold everybody accountable when we're speaking about these things. I want to understand. I'm going to ask you this question directly. When is it okay to give somebody grace, and when is it okay to not to give somebody grace? Because in this space, I understand that you still want to hold him accountable for his action, but you're still trying to give him grace in the same sentence.
Yeah, because I think depending on what you do, every circumstance is different. And I believe in this circumstance, he'll have an opportunity to make amends. I do like the fact that he immediately apologized. He didn't make any excuses in his statement.
Do you know why he immediately apologized?
Regardless of his intention,
Because he was dragged for it.
Actions speak louder than words, and that's why I would like him to take action. And I think if he does that, he deserves to keep his job. The reason why I say Bill Cunningham does not deserve to keep his job is because he does this every day on his radio show, and I have evidence to prove that. I look at someone's history and I look at somebody's past. Do we know what everybody does behind closed doors? No, but I'm not going to make an assumption that he's using the F word behind closed doors every day. He did something very stupid. It's wrong. It's terrible. If he gets fired, I'm not going to feel sorry for him. But I do believe he'll have an opportunity, hopefully anyway, to make amends. Just like I'm not going to assume just because somebody is white, they're racist. I'm not going to assume just because somebody is white they're transphobic or whatever color.
So, Brian,
their
let me
skin
ask you
is.
this: what do we do in these situations? Because personally, I know that I have not always been the star individual that I wanted to be. I've understand that I've said dumb things. I just haven't recorded it, and I've also not been on the air doing it. I don't know if that's going to ever happen. I pray it doesn't, because I'm always trying my best to be the best I can be. However, I would want grace, and I give people grace. Am I so outraged about this situation? I'm not outraged. I do want this individual to do better. I would want these people to I would say go to panels and have conversations. I think the best part would be not to go shake hands with trans people, but to go talk to trans people in a public forum. Let's have conversations like how they do in these podcasts where they ask people all the time, and what do you think about when men should do this and how women should do that? I think we should put them in those spaces, because let's say I said something really stupid today. I may have not meant it, and I may have not understood the repercussions behind it, but I know for a fact that I'm always open to constructive criticism, and I want to do better, and I always will apologize. But a lot of times, these people don't apologize because they want to. They apologize because they have to, and that's the difference.
I don't know what's in Bobby Huggins' heart. I don't. Maybe he apologized because he was forced to. That's very, very possible.
So let me ask you this: why do you think this is news?
Why do I think this is news? Well, Bobby Huggins is one of the most popular college basketball coaches of all time. That's number one. He's a big public figure. He's been one of the faces of college basketball for decades and decades. He's not some random high school coach that said something stupid. He's a big time coach. Number one. Number two, in any day life, whether it's you're working in a cubicle or representing a company, if you use language like this in a public fashion, it represents your company poorly, and you'll probably lose your job. So that's why I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Bobby Huggins.
So what do you think this means for his team as players? Because when I look at stuff like this, I always want to question, well, how do you treat your players? How do you treat people who are close to you, who are making you money? Because when I look at these individuals who say off-the-wall things, and they may have not done this before, but they did it today, it leads me to believe that you've always felt this way. And so I want to know now what's going to be also done to make sure that his players are being treated fairly, and they're not being they're not being forced to listen to this type of rhetoric or feel as though that they can't come out or be who they truly want to be, because the coach who's either helping them become who they want to be has the power. You know what I'm saying?
I'll be honest with you, and I don't speak for them, but I'll give you my opinion. I don't think there's any 20 or 21-year-old that may or may not be gay on the West Virginia basketball
You don't
team.
think there is?
No, you got to let me finish. What I was saying was there may or may not be a 20 or 21-year-old that is gay on the West Virginia basketball team, but I'm not sure if Bobby Huggins uses a derogatory term like the F word.
But
that would
whether it's the
directly
F
affect
word
somebody.
or whether if it's the F word or not, I'm trying to get people to understand is that there are other words to use that relate to the F word that make people feel like you're still calling me gay, or you're making me feel bad for being who I am. There's a lot of different terminology we use in our everyday life that makes it seem wrong for being a soft male, or makes it feel wrong for being hurt. That's like, even when I talk to you about Paul and Paul, I'm like, hey, what's wrong with people taking the day off because they feel hurt? Like, stuff like that still affects people. It makes them feel like, oh, I'm gay, you know?
Well, I'll say this. In college sports, sometimes coaches are going to say, I'm not talking about Huggins right now, I'm speaking in general. Sometimes coaches are going to say things that maybe some people won't like. Like, for example, you're playing like a soft 10-year-old girl. In the privacy of a basketball practice, if somebody makes a comment like that as a Division I college football or basketball player, and they're offended by that, then they shouldn't be playing college sports.
Do you know what the difference between that and the F word is?
Of course there's a difference.
No, it's
not. Okay, well, I disagree with you. I think that in college sports...
To be an F word is to be a girly man. To be a gay man who's seen worse or lower than a straight man. It's the same thing.
Okay, so if you call somebody soft, that's against the gay community? I don't understand what you're
Yes,
saying.
if you go and call a straight man soft, even let's say, for example, I got upset because I'm gonna make an example. Okay, let's say I came in here and I'm upset because of, actually, prime example, I did get called soft by somebody because I was very upset about this apartment situation, and they were telling me I need to stop being soft, I need to man up and fix it. And I'm sitting here like, I am fixing it. However, I am upset right now because I have nowhere to stay. And they're like, well, that's not, men shouldn't be soft.
Let's focus on sports. I'm not talking about an apartment situation.
Regardless, I'm
No,
saying,
but it's
you
not
just asked me a
regardless.
question.
I know,
I'm
but
telling you the difference.
I understand
the similarities.
But in college sports, if you're a college basketball player and you're called soft, it can mean a lot of different different things. You're not.
We're trained, and you should know this because you're an athlete. We're trained to deal with those types of terminology. We're trained to just take that to the chin, be more of a man, and get over it. What I'm trying to get you to understand is that one slur or one type of statement that is similar to a slur still affects people the same way.
Let me ask you a
but we're not
question.
told to talk about those things
Let me ask you a
because we're
question.
told to get over it.
So on the football field or the basketball court, there's a player that's not being physical enough. They're not playing hard. Maybe they're not rebounding. They're not doing what the coach is asking them. And then in practice the next day, the coach says, "You got to stop being soft." You think a coach shouldn't say that?
No, what I'm trying to tell you is that when we're looking at the words that people are using, like the F word, we have to also understand what type of rhetoric are they using outside of that also relates to that. I'm saying a lot of times in these industries, these coaches are saying things that are very similar to the F word that makes people feel like they can't be themselves or come out. Now, if you ask me, when can soft be used in certain situations? Yes. If you're saying, hey, I need you to toughen up, I need you to be better.
You're soft.
Right. I get that. But then again, what I'm trying to tell you is that we're trained to understand that, take that, and not deal with our feelings and say, hey, that's just the coach pushing me to be better.
Understood.
But when we take a step back and we look at how people use different rhetoric and different words like the F word or you're gay or you're being like a girl, stop being a sissy, that's stuff that has been used. Do you think there's a difference between being soft and being a sissy?
If somebody is not doing their job on the court or the football field, there are plenty of coaches that would use the term sissy.
What's the difference between sissy and the F word? I almost said it.
I think there's a big difference there. The F word, you're talking about the homophobic slur, the F word.
Well, you're not gay, so you won't understand.
I disagree with you. I don't think I have to be gay to understand that the F word, which is a derogatory term towards those in the LGBTQ community, that word should not be used in any sense. It could be the basketball court, it could be the football field, or it could be in everyday life, or what Bobby Huggins did. I think when I hear the term sissy, it has nothing to do with being gay. When I hear sissy, it means you're afraid of physical contact. You're not giving it at all. I'm talking about in a sports aspect. You're not rebounding. You're not hitting hard enough. You're not doing what the coach is asking you to do. You're playing soft. And to me, that has nothing to do with being gay. It has to do with you're not being physical enough. You're not playing hard enough. You're not doing what the coach asked you to do. And I can tell you, if you think sissy is a derogatory term, then there'd probably be thousands of coaches right now without a job because most coaches have used that terminology. And I think there is a huge fine line between calling somebody a sissy and calling somebody the homophobic slur that starts with the letter F.
I think if you're a coach and you're trying to push your team and your players to be more tough and you're trying to build them up, there's ways to go about saying those different things. And I understand and I support that because, again, I am a sports player and I do enjoy when somebody's pushed me to be better. You know, if I'm at the gym and he's like, hey, don't be soft, push, go, go, go. Again, hear me out because I want to make sure I'm not contradicting myself. I understand that. However, if we're talking about somebody being oversensitive or we're talking about somebody being a sissy or we're trying to tell somebody they can't be who they are and we use words like the F word, I'm trying to get you to understand that majority of the times if somebody's comfortable using the F word, they're saying other small things that attribute to the same type of effect as it would to just use the F word. Okay. There's better words to use. Well, and again, I want to say this last point too, because I feel like sometimes I like when you say your opinion, it's kind of like, hey, well, your opinion doesn't matter. I want this to understand
what do
that.
You mean?
Hear me. No, hear me. I'm trying to get you to understand because I say my opinion, you're kind of just like, oh, and then move on. I want to make sure people don't take my opinion, they don't fully understand it. I am on the side of you trying to build your players. I am on the side of you trying to make people tough because if this is what they signed up for, that's what they want. But then again, you have to also understand that everybody's different. You have to also understand that we're now in 2023 and there are things that are acceptable and there's things that aren't acceptable. And now we're at a point where we're starting to realize that a lot of things that we let people slide with, we shouldn't be doing that anymore. And I think a lot of times when people don't realize who they are versus what other people are dealing with, that's when we're not understanding people's sides.
Well, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree because my personal opinion, and then we got to get to break, is that if you're a college Division I athlete and a coach calls you a sissy or you're playing soft and you think that's over the line, then you shouldn't be a College I division athlete. I think we are, as a society today, I believe as a society today, we are soft. And the F word used in a derogatory fashion, of course, to talk about someone who is gay is wrong in every sense of the word. It shouldn't be used anywhere. And I think there is a fine line between that word and calling somebody soft or calling somebody a sissy as a motivational tool to get somebody to play harder. That's just my personal opinion. And things have changed over the years. Bobby Huggins was wrong for what he did. There's no question about that. Speaking of wrong, Las Vegas school shooting yesterday. When you hear that, your heart drops, right? Luckily, nobody was killed, but somebody was shot, and an 18-year-old is now in custody. We're going to talk about gun violence. We're going to talk about the shooting that took place in Texas. And the guy that's going to be joining us next, he is a CCW gun instructor. His name is Nefi Kaliki, and I've gotten into it with him before because he's made national news. He's going to be joining us next. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices. Office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Do you want to take your business to the next level? Then join one of the fastest growing talk shows, Pushing the Limits. We have a wide range of sales packages that can fit your budget. Anything from on-site live remotes to in-studio interviews. Email Jamie at jamiedee@kshp.com. That's JAIMEDEE@kshp.com.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Jumpers Jungle Family Fun Center is an indoor children's jump and party space in Las Vegas, located at 2050 South Rainbow Boulevard. Kids of all ages can come and jump on our bouncers, race through the obstacle courses, speed down the mega slides, slam dunk into the basketball hoops, and much more. Are you looking for that perfect birthday party venue? Look no further. Jumpers Jungle has a party package that will fit your needs. Check out the open play schedule online at jumpersjungle.com or call 702-463-JUMP. It's time to jump your way to fun at Jumpers Jungle on the corner of Oakey and Rainbow.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. As I mentioned earlier, we had, I guess you could call it a school shooting in Las Vegas yesterday. And an 18-year-old is now charged with 24 felonies in connection with this shooting. His name is Jesse Rios. Ed Von Tobel Middle School. Luckily, it appears as though the man who was shot is expected to survive. Thank God. No students were injured. 3 schools had to go on lockdown. So dangerous situation. We had this shooting, of course, that took place in Texas. Well, tons of shootings across the country, but 8 people dead in a mall shooting in Texas. And I want to talk about gun control. I want to talk about how people can be trained on how to use guns. And the guy joining us on the line right now, he is a CCW gun instructor. He also does a weekly radio show here in Vegas. He's been on this show before. His name is Nefi Kaliki, and he joins us right now. Nefi, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you, my man. Where are you? In your car right now?
I am in my car right now.
I appreciate you joining us, my friend. All right,
I'm parked, though.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. So I want to ask you this to start off. You know that gun violence in this country continuing to rise, right? It's at like an all-time high now. Whether it's happening in Chicago or it's happening here in Las Vegas, it's on the rise. As an instructor and a gun advocate, what would you say the reason is as to why that is happening?
Well, I think the media is focused on covering the stories more, as we go into an election. I don't know that, violence in general is going up. There's lots of, in certain places, of course. But remember, perception is everything. Gun control is about public trust. It's really whether people are comfortable with somebody carrying a firearm or not. Like in California, there's no public trust for people who own guns because they freak out if they see somebody with a gun, versus Nevada, they don't freak out. That's a culture thing. That's public trust. And, the problem is always the same thing, is that the people who get the guns taken from them are the ones that aren't doing anything wrong. Right. And it's a vicious cycle, because it's like the good people are punished for being good people constantly. Violence is only specific to the individual that's going through it, like only the living suffer. So when we're trying to look at everything in this big picture thing, and the individual that went through it themselves, they don't see the big picture. They only see what's in front of them. And we can't keep using these blanket approaches. I agree. I teach this for a reason. I teach it because I want to empower people to have the means to defend themselves, if that's a last resort kind of a tool. But I prefer to teach them how to avoid it altogether. Making them defenseless or taking it away from them, it starts at our level. This is ground floor, where I have influence over thousands of students a year, where I can get their mindset correct. I can help teach them how to be aware of things, how get them dialed in for securing their weapons so other people can't get a hold of them. But at the end of the day, we can do our jobs perfectly, and criminals are somehow going to find a way to get weapons or other destructive devices.
Why do we, because you mentioned the media, and I'm trying to dissect your brain a little bit. Why is it that we have so much more gun violence in this country than just about any other country in the world? Why has it happened so much in the United States? Because I think so many people have an infatuation and a fetish with their guns. I mean, there are a lot of people in this country. They love their AR-15s. They love their assault weapons, and I don't think you need an assault weapon.
Those kind of people that are in love with their guns, I'm sorry, but those are the ones you don't need to worry about. They're little bitches when it comes to, like, ultimately, like, it's just a tool.
How about the guy on October 1 that killed over 60 people? Would you call him a little bitch? He killed over 60 people. He bought a ton of guns, a ton of artillery, and it's the biggest gun shooting in American history. Would you call him a little bitch?
Of course I would. I'd call anyone that would do something cowardly a little bitch.
But he was infatuated with guns, right?
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't?
They were tools.
The thousands
guns
rounds
are tools.
And all the AR-15s, you don't think he had a little bit of an infatuation with guns?
No, I have just as many guns, but it's not an infatuation. They're tools. That's like a guy that has a lot of tools. You know, the guy I'm worried about is the guy that has pristine, brand new, well-maintained tools in his garage. He's got every tool known to man. But I
So what
wouldn't
is an
trust that guy to
AR-15?
build nothing.
If an AR-15 is a tool, because last I checked, some of these weapons were built to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. Would you call that a tool? Uh-oh, did we lose him? I think we lost him.
We lost him.
The interview was
back
just
in.
The interview was just getting good.
He'll be back in just a second.
Well, Jamie, what do you think? Do you think an AR-15 is a tool? I don't think it's a tool.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
Well, that's what he said.
In what sense? What do you mean you don't think it's a tool, though?
Well,
what does it mean? What does it mean for a gun to be a tool? Because it technically is a tool.
Well, I guess he's comparing it to like a hammer in a house. You know what I mean? Like a fix-it type thing. And I just disagree with that premise. I think many of these assault weapons are used for one reason and one reason only, and that's to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. And I asked him, why is it that we have this problem in this country, and why is it that, you know, gun violence is such a huge issue in this country? And then he talked about the media. And I'm like, I don't think the media has anything to do with it. I think the people have something to do with it. I think the NRA has something to do with it. I think our politicians and our lawmakers have something to do with it. I don't look at an AR-15 as a tool that you have in a toolbox, like a screwdriver. And I think that's what he was kind of comparing it to. And I just disagree with that assessment.
To be more clear,
yeah.
You think the government has to do with what? You said it has something to do with it. What do you mean by that?
What do you mean? I didn't say the government.
You said you just listed off a bunch of people who have something to do with it. What do you mean by that when you say that?
Our lawmakers. To
do with what, though?
Gun policy.
Okay.
Putting together proper gun laws on the books, an assault weapons ban, you name it. You know, it's interesting, though, you brought up the government, because, a lot of people want to talk about how I need my AR-15s and my assault weapons to, in case I need to fight the government, yet the government has nuclear weapons. So trust me, your AR-15s aren't going to defend you against the government.
They could bomb you real quick.
Yeah. Right. I believe we have Nephew back on the line. We lost him a little bit there. Nephew, you back with us? Are you there, Nephew? That's okay. Yeah. No problem. We got you back.
My phone overheated.
No problem, my friend. No problem. Glad you're back. All right. So I think what I was asking you about, because you had mentioned that, AR-15s, you see it as some sort of tool. And I guess my question to you is, my understanding is some of these weapons were built for one reason only, not to be used as a tool in your house, but to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. Why do we need some of these assault weapons on the market?
I don't understand the distinction. The guns don't do anything. It's the bullets that kill.
Yeah, but some guns are a little different than others. Some guns can, as you know this better than anybody, can fire many bullets in a shorter period of time than, say, a pistol.
And I feel like if we take a step back, you say guns don't kill anybody, bullets do. The bullets are activated because of the person behind the gun.
Yeah, but a gun without bullets is useless.
And a person without a gun is still able to protect themselves.
No. Wait, what? Back that up.
You said you don't think you can protect yourself with your hands or with the hammer or with the
taser? Can.
You can? And I sure can as well. And I sure can as well. But you said a bullet.
Well, hold on a second.
Okay, go ahead.
If someone else has a gun and you start, that's called bringing a knife to a gunfight. It depends on what the bad guy is bringing to the table.
Right. And I mean, of course, if somebody else had a gun, of course, I would want a gun as well to protect myself. But then again, if we us had an assault rifle or a gun in a place where guns weren't allowed, then we can protect ourselves.
What do you mean guns aren't allowed? Guns aren't allowed lots of places, and those are the ones that get hit first.
Prime example, exactly. So if those are places that get hit first, and I don't have a gun,
the ones without guns.
Right, you just made my point again. So if the places there are where guns are not allowed, and I'm walking somewhere where I don't have a gun, and somebody comes and tries to kill me with a gun, let me just take a step back and say, I'm gonna just say that again. I'm gonna stick to my point. If a gun without a bullet is useless, a gun without a person without a gun can still defend themselves. I'm gonna stick to that point. But I want to get back to the point that Brian was trying to make is, how do you think we could solve this issue where we have all these different people who are getting these AR-15s and using them, as you just said, as a tool to kill a mass amount of people?
Yeah, well, I don't. In the same week in Texas, somebody ran over like 19 migrants with a car. Like it does. Joseph Smith said, I don't imagine that death has too many faces. And I think focusing on the method of death is different than focusing on the end result of death. Whether it's from an AR-15 or it's from a Tavor or an M4, the method really doesn't matter, because the core root of the problem isn't the gun, it's people that do these things. Right? And taking the guns away from them doesn't magically make them a good person. Right?
So,
it's not addressing the root cause.
So what's the root cause?
Well, clearly there's only two kinds of people that do this: sick and mentally, unstable people, and evil people.
So let me ask you this then. There are sick and mentally unstable people all over the world. Why is it we have this problem in this country higher
That's what I just said, Brian, that death doesn't have too many faces. In Europe, they have problems the same way. They just use a knife, right?
Can you
violence
give me an
is going to
people that were killed at the hands of somebody with a knife?
Absolutely. Well, look it up. If you had asked me to prepare this stuff, I would have done you a report or something. But you're asking me off the cuff to give you proof. It's not really a fair argument. But I'll tell you, look it up.
If they didn't have a gun, they're going to have a knife. If your child, God forbid, was in a school, would you rather have somebody walk in there wanting to kill innocent people with an AR-15 or a knife?
What is the obsession with AR-15s? I think you're the one with the obsession.
Well, ask me what the obsession is.
I don't own one.
Okay, well, the shooter right here in Las Vegas, the Route 91 festival, the Buffalo shooter, the Uvalde shooter, the Columbine shooters, the shooter that was in Texas. Why is it their choice when we're seeing at least 5 to 10 people dying is usually, not all the time, but
it's
usually
because it's common. It's because it's common. That's it.
What do you mean it's common? I don't understand. Explain.
It's just a common gun. That's it. If it was not that, it would be something else.
I know, but it's not something else. I mean, that's what I'm trying to.
No, Brian. Let me ask you this question. Be honest.
Sure.
Is a person's nature the problem, or is it the gun that's the problem?
I think it can be both. And I'll give you an example. It could be both. We have a mental illness issue in this country. No question. We need to do a better job in dealing with those that are mentally ill. But when we also have laws in this country, and you are the person to talk about this because you train people how to use guns properly, gun responsibility. There's no mandatory training when it comes to guns. An 18-year-old can walk into a gun store, buy a bunch of, and I'll mention it, even though you might not like it, a bunch of AR-15s at 18 years old, thousands of rounds of ammunition with 0 minutes of training. I have a serious problem with that. You can buy.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you in principle. But I also don't think that it should be the government that does that. I think that the people who are in a position to act immediately, without passing any laws, without going to Congress, without going to a vote, are people like me and people in industry who could just get together at some summit over some beers on the weekend, obviously not Bud Light, but get together and decide this is what we're going to do. If you want to buy guns from an FFL, then you need to do this if this is your first time. We could institute that tomorrow. We could do that.
I think as an individual who's listening to both of you, I think you guys are both fighting two different sides. And one thing that I've noticed a lot is that people who are gun owners like you, a lot of times you believe that you're not respected and that people want to take your guns away. Brian is not saying that he wants to take your gun away. Brian is not saying that he doesn't respect those who have guns. Brian is not saying that guns particularly are just the issue. Brian is talking about the specific guns that are being used in these mass shootings.
It doesn't matter to me. Hold on,
Nephi. He's Nephi, excuse me. And thank you for correcting me, Nephi. I want to put respect in your name. But even if we're talking about that, I want to address that. You said it. Well, if it's not that, it'd be a different weapon. Again, if you're talking about a different weapon, let's remove assault rifles or AR-15s and assault weapons in general. We wouldn't have as many mass shootings if those type of, like you said, tools weren't in the question and weren't able to be gotten by people who are sick, people who don't know how to use weapons, and people who do not have a true thought about why they want to use them for either good or for evil. Sometimes people get guns. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this today, and they end up shooting people because they just want to do it. And a lot of times we're not talking.
On a whim.
We're talking. Yeah, it happens. If you guys want to talk, because a lot of times you guys bring up like,
No,
oh well,
there's no
what about
such thing
Chicago?
as
What
that.
about the mass shootings? When you look at these things, it's not that people are trying to take your guns away. We're trying to talk about how can we regulate these mass shootings and stop them from happening or decrease them every year, and how do we stop the wrong people from getting guns? And I think nobody has even given a solution. I think even you talking right now said you want to go to a summit and drink some beers and figure it out. What is that going to do for the common person?
You haven't clearly listened to my show. I call the firearms industry out on their BS all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the firearms industry is selling false confidence to people, that they're worried about their personal safety no matter what it is. The gun industry solution is, hey, get a gun. Like whispering in their ear like the devil, when sometimes giving that person a gun is not the most responsible thing to do because they're not ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that training is important. However, like people had the right to try the vaccine, people have a right to try and survive if somebody should attack them in their home or try to do violence to them. That's a very difficult thing to balance because while you're going through your training to get ready, that might be the moment you needed it. And while 80-year-old women and 80-year-old men aren't going to be very good at defending themselves physically or even shooting a gun, I would rather they had some fighting chance than to just let them die because they couldn't fight back. Like, it's a very difficult thing to balance. I don't think the government is the one with the solution.
Well, certainly our politicians aren't coming up with many solutions. That's my frustration.
They're both retarded.
Well, I don't know if I'd use that term. I don't know if I'd use that term. I think that Democrats as a whole, this is where I agree with Democrats, they're trying to come up with solutions. The only solutions I hear from Republicans are more guns are the answer, which I think is absolutely absurd. And let's arm our kindergarten teachers. I haven't heard any real.
I don't agree with that either. That's giving a firearm to somebody who's ill-equipped to use it. That's just going to work against them. So I don't think Republicans have the solution. I think the solution has to come from the private industry.
Well, unfortunately, the private industries aren't going to legislate gun laws in this country. And I speak of Democrats, and you might disagree with some of the Democrats. They want what you do. They want more people out there like you teaching people how to use guns responsibly. They want to raise the age from 18 to 21. They want to have stricter red flag laws put on the books. They want an assault weapons ban. Now, I understand that a lot of Republicans don't agree with that, but it doesn't seem like Republicans.
That's a BS term.
What's that?
The term assault rifle is a BS term. Look, because it doesn't matter what it looks like. It matters that a bullet comes out of the other end of it. There are rifles that are out there. Hold on a second.
Guns, like regular guns to shoot up schools.
That's because it's common.
Wait, what does that mean? Because it's
common.
Or because
it's readily available.
Well, cocaine is common too, but that doesn't mean we should legalize it, right?
Wait, if AR-15s aren't
don't go there because they did legalize marijuana.
Hold on, wait, because I don't want to move away from the subject. You said that pistols are common. However, we're seeing that the common weapon that is used in these mass shootings are AR-15s. How is that not common?
It's not because those are what's commonly available.
But you just so let's talk about.
Of course, they're used in it.
Right. So again, I'm trying to make you listen to what you're saying. We're just saying remove assault rifles or AR-15s or what you don't like the word to be used as assault weapons because that's
why are they assault weapons? That's my question.
Hold on. Let's finish this one topic first. This is what's being used in these mass shootings. But you're saying, well, we could just get a pistol and do the same thing. No, we can't.
Yep.
I'm confused why you think that.
Yes, you could.
No, you can't.
You're talking to me and telling me I can't.
You're telling me. So then, okay, if you can explain to me this, why hasn't it happened?
Because it's easier, and because that's the idea
and that's what
been
we're trying
planted
to
in their head.
understand. It is easier to use an AR-15 or an assault weapon to kill more people at once
Nobody has
than it is to use a regular. Oh, you don't think so? Okay.
No, because an AR-15 is a piece of crap.
But a pistol isn't? Huh?
A pistol can do the same damage.
You think so? It has, but why isn't it being used then? Because you still haven't given me an answer.
I told you it doesn't matter what gun it is.
Why not?
Because a bullet is a bullet is a bullet. It doesn't matter if the gun looks scary. Oh my gosh, it's an assault weapon because it has black rails on the side of it.
Let me ask you more question. Which gun shoots faster, a pistol or an AR-15?
What do you mean? The bullet? Which one? Which bullet faster?
Which gun releases more bullets faster, a pistol or an AR-15?
They're exactly the same, brother.
Okay, so I think we're getting in the weeds here.
Wait, hold on. No, let me stop, Brian, or let me explain this. A semi-automatic is only as fast as the person pulling the trigger. So an AR-15 is just as fast as a pistol, period. It's not the gun.
There are certain guns, we're getting in the weeds here, but there are certain guns that are designed to fire more bullets in a shorter period of time than other guns.
Nope.
He says they all shoot at the same rate.
So you're telling me specific assault weapons are the same as every other weapon?
They're not legal. You can't own a machine gun without very, very serious background checks and licensing.
Correct.
So anything that's semi-automatic has the exact same cyclic rate. And if I could show you how to reload a handgun with 18 rounds in it without ever going empty. It's the same thing. It's not the assault rifle. Assault refers to your intention and use of it. You could assault a house with a hunting rifle with a single bolt action rifle. It's just your intention.
Nephi, this is what you do for a living. You know as well as I do that there are certain guns on the market that have more capabilities of firing more rounds in a shorter period of time than other weapons. You know that.
Not true. I just disputed that, and I don't know that I need to repeat it. All guns, semi-automatic, have the exact same rate of fire.
Okay, I'm surprised to hear you say that because I mean
that's true. It's 100% semi-automatic.
I'm talking about all guns in general.
Wait, can I ask this real quick? Hey,
don't talk about the military. That's a different subject.
Nephi, right? I want to make sure
thank you.
Nephi, thank you. I'm all about respecting that. I did just Google it, and it does say that an AR-15 and weapons similar to it travel almost 3 times faster than those of a routine handgun. Can you explain that?
That has to do with the bullet traveling, not the rate of fire.
So the bullet travels faster.
What does that matter? You're off by a fraction of a second. It matters.
Does it matter what the bullet does to your body when it hits you? Because bullets coming out of an AR-15 seem to do a lot more damage to a body than certain other weapons.
Have
you would agree
seen
with that,
handgun rounds? That depends. Have you seen hydroshock or hollow point rounds? The damage that they do, and they're designed to stay in the original target.
I have no doubt that there are other weapons as well that can do plenty of damage with the bullets coming out of those guns. I guess it goes back
to my... You're nitpicking because of the hole in the person is the hole in the person.
Why is it that gun violence was down in the early 90s when they had an assault weapons ban in place? And then when it fizzled out in the early 90s and Republicans let it fizzle out, if you look at the statistics, gun violence went up quickly. Why is that?
Well, but there's a difference, and I think that this is probably where my contention with any argument regarding gun control, because we're talking about hammers and not carpenters, right? Because in my courses, I'm trying to build carpenters. I'm not trying to build hammers. And the carpenter is the one that we need to influence. The carpenter is the one we need to have skills. And those are the ones that we need to affect, because a device, as dangerous as it could be, is still operated by a human being that's making a conscious decision to use it for good or evil.
Nephi, I like what you do. We need more gun instructors out there. You're not the problem.
I agree.
Okay. I believe the problem is that we have too much easy access to weapons in this country. I believe everyone should have the right to defend themselves as long as they're not a felon. I don't want to take people's guns away. But what I do want is I want legislation put in place to make it more difficult for those that are mentally ill to get their hands on guns. For example,
they should never get them at all.
I agree. The shooter in Tennessee was getting mentally evaluated, okay? Clearly had mental illness, still legally able to purchase guns. That's a problem. I don't.
Yeah, but you still have the problem is you have due process.
Well, you can have due process, but if you're getting mentally evaluated or somebody makes a threat against somebody, I don't think they should be allowed to purchase a gun until it's investigated or a therapist or a psychologist says they're mentally stable enough to purchase a gun. Clearly, the shooter in Tennessee was mentally unstable, should have never been legally allowed to purchase a gun.
I agree. Due process is something we're not going to get around because that would involve changing the Constitution. I agree that's problematic. Which
Let me
is
ask you another
all the
question.
more. Wait, let me finish that part. That's
Sure.
problematic, but that's all the more reason that individuals who are not capable need to have the ability. Look, I'm in favor of one thing: restrict the crap out of it, but leave a path for law-abiding citizens who have proven like they're sane and they're able and trained. Leave a path for them. Don't close it off for everyone because you're just making good people defenseless against those people that aren't playing by the same rules.
Well, let me ask you this. And by the way, if you're just joining us, we're speaking with Nephi Kaliki. He's a CCW gun instructor. He's been on this show before. He does his own weekly radio show on KDWN. Obviously, you're a Second Amendment guy. Believe it or not, so am I. I believe everybody has the right to bear arms with responsibility, of course. This is what I don't understand. I would imagine that, and correct me if I'm wrong, did you vote for Donald Trump? And there's a reason why I'm asking this. Are you a Donald Trump supporter? Did you vote for Trump?
Of course I did.
Okay, so now let me ask you another question then. Donald Trump said you're a constitutionalist. You're a Second Amendment guy. It was Donald Trump himself a few months ago that said he wanted to suspend, these are his words, not mine, suspend parts of the Constitution. If you're such a constitutionalist, why would you support Donald Trump?
This is a baloney way to try to bait me of all people.
No, it's not.
Brian.
It's a fair question. I just want an answer.
No, that's what's called laying a trap for someone. And I'm going to just tell you this way.
Not. It's
I don't.
calling somebody a hypocrite.
You're calling me a hypocrite?
Well, if you don't want to answer it and you're attacking me for asking you what I think is a very fair question.
It's not a fair question. It's a setup, and I'll answer it for you because either way, I don't care. The only reason I will ever vote for any politician, whether it's Donald Trump or any other person, is because of I believe I have better odds of protecting the values in the Constitution that I support. And suspending the Constitution, what the hell does that mean? I don't agree with that statement. And if he said it, I would yell out the window or I'd yell at the audience at him like, there's no suspending the Constitution.
Yeah, he did. He said it on Truth Social.
Okay, why do I have to agree with everything you say to like or dislike you, Brian?
You don't have to agree with everything I say.
Okay, so why do I have to agree with everything? Why do I have to agree with everything Trump says?
I'm not giving you an opinion. Because I'm not giving you an opinion. You can disagree with my opinion.
I don't care. Well,
Donald Trump said he wanted to suspend parts of the Constitution. I'm not making this up.
I would disagree with that statement.
I'm just trying to dissect someone who is a Trump supporter, a constitutionalist like you are. I believe you are.
Quit trying to put me in a box, bro.
I'm not putting you in a box. I'm asking you a question about a man who you support.
I think for myself. You asked me if I voted for him. I didn't say I believed or supported everything he does because I think for myself. And so don't put me in no box. Don't put me in no box.
I'm not putting you in a box.
Because I'll break that box open.
Well,
I voted for Trump because the other alternative was much, much worse.
Is the other alternative going after our Constitution and saying that he wants to
man, I'm not going to, he's not president anymore, so maybe I could say it, but I would never, ever support that. Never.
Okay.
But
well,
that doesn't mean I would have voted for Hillary.
I didn't vote for Hillary either. I'm just saying
what's the point? You just totally derailed this because you thought you had some gotcha moment where you could confront me. I think for myself, brother, and the honest truth
moment at all.
That I know it ain't because I don't fall for traps. Republicans and Democrats are both designed to give people the illusion that they have a say and they have freedom. And the truth is, there's some third party behind closed doors that's screwing us both. Period.
Who would that third party be?
I don't know. If I knew him, I'd probably do something about it.
Okay. Go ahead, Jamie.
Hey, Nephi, I just want to understand more of your personal background a little bit more. So I do respect what you're doing with teaching people about gun safety and making sure that we all feel safe in our own spaces. I'm not disregarding that
Not
at all.
feel.
Mhm.
Feeling doesn't matter. I'm not interested in people feeling safe. I'm interested in them being safe.
I think they're one and the same, but okay.
Nope.
With that being said, that's fine. I'll let you have that. With that being said, did you ever feel as though that you needed a gun to protect yourself? I don't know what your history is. That's why I'm asking.
I've been in 6 self-defense investigations in my life, 4 of which were on my job and 2 of which were outside of my job. I was a bounty hunter for 6 years. I've been a private investigator. I've been a political operative. I've been involved in well over 700 arrests. So
You've done
yeah,
where you
yes,
needed a gun. Okay. Do you believe that a common person like myself needs a gun everywhere they go?
No, I believe that you need firearms in places that are not secure, where
Okay,
you're
so
unsure
can
about the security levels.
of those places? What are the places that you believe you need a firearm?
Walking from the grocery store to your car, walking from your work to your car, walking down the street at night by yourself because you
So
work late and you need to walk your dog. No, that's not everywhere you go.
I mean, that's everywhere I go. Grocery store, to a party, to my house. I mean, to work.
Yeah.
So
I'm in my car, and this is in the seat next to me.
I asked to say because I try
that's what you do for a living,
right? And I
right.
and I want to understand what's the difference between needing guns in your regular life versus needing guns to protect yourself. A lot of times, Brian talks about
what's the difference.
I'm trying to get there. A lot of times, Brian talks about how people need guns to. I don't even know what you. Is that a shotgun you just held up in the camera?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Anyway, he just threw me off. Okay. Anyway, Brian talks about how people like to equip themselves because a lot of times we're talking to those on the far right. They say that is because they want to make sure they protect themselves from the government. And do you believe that we need weapons to protect ourselves from the government or from everyday people in our everyday life?
Well, let me just tell you, there's 5 reasons you need guns. Number 1, national security. The reason this country does not get invaded and the reason that Japan said they didn't invade the mainland was because there was a rifle behind every blade of grass. Right? And even in California, if blue helmets started making their way up the shores of Santa Monica, there would be 100,000 rifles with 10-round magazines pointed at them in minutes with their pink hats and everything. That's the number 1 reason for the armed citizenship, because the military doesn't move that fast, and where they're not a base of operations, that's cities are vulnerable. So we keep our country from being invaded, not because everybody likes us, because we do have enemies. The number 2 reason is in case our government becomes corrupted and gets off of the track that we set for it, and that we, the people, does no longer exist. We need the ability to correct that. That's the second reason. The third reason is in case our fellow man, our fellow citizen decides that he wants your stuff more than he wants to work for it, right? And he wants to use violence to do that. The next reason is because, you know what, if semi-trucks and stuff stop coming to Vegas, we're going to need to kill our own food, right? That's the fourth reason. And the fifth and final reason is because the only way you can call yourself free is if you have guns. And guns to me are not a symbol of violence, they're a symbol of freedom. That if we don't have them, somebody is going to abuse us. If you think racism and discrimination and oppression is bad now, wait till you don't have guns in the world and the other side does. Then you're just subject to whatever it is they want to do. So I wouldn't say there's any one particular reason over the other. I think they're all equally important, and that's what creates the balance that we need. And it's a tool. It's never going anywhere. Never. We will never be rid of guns. You can't unring that bell.
I don't disagree. We're never going to get rid of guns, but I do think we can put things in place to make things a little bit safer and lower.
But people can change. So again, to bring it back, we can't get rid of guns, but people can change. And that's what I said earlier, that it's not the guns, it's the people.
Laws can change to make us safer.
It doesn't change. Look, it doesn't change a person's mindset. They did away with slavery. Did that end racism?
It can change. I believe it can save lives if there are certain laws implemented in place.
Sure.
I believe it could save lives. Absolutely.
I agree.
Is
What
there
do you
still
think?
racism? Sure. But, people aren't owned anymore, which is a very good thing. I want to see
Not true. Not true.
there's
You
slavery
tell
now.
that to a person. Absolutely. There's
There
still.
is
What's
none.
the difference between slaves were compensated? They got free room and board.
They
There's
say
lots
all
of
the
people
time
that
that
are
prisoners.
enslaved to their jobs.
All right. Well, I mean, last I checked, you can't own somebody. It's against the law.
Really? What's trafficking?
Well, there's certainly sex trafficking out there, but
What's the difference? They had comfort girls in slavery. There's no difference. It's just
Well,
changed
back then it
hands.
was legal.
They
Now
just
it's
made it
illegal.
look different.
Right. But
Trafficking's
back then
illegal. It's
back then it was
slavery.
legal. That's the difference. I just want laws put in place. I just like you, we don't want innocent people to die. I don't hear any real solutions that people have. I agree with you. I think we both agree on the gun safety issues when it comes to training. That's what you do for a living. We agree on that. But Republicans are never going to want to implement something like that in any type of mandatory training. When someone buys a gun,
I don't think that the government should be the ones to make that call.
Well, then you're trusting the people, and I'm sorry, I just don't trust people.
What are you talking about? My students benefit greatly from me as their instructor.
And those are your students, but
okay, I'm doing what I can do, and
I
other
didn't
people
say you're
need
not.
to do the same thing.
I didn't
The
say you're not.
government, since when a government program's great? You want to screw something up, let the government build it.
Well, as always, Nephi, I do appreciate you coming on. It's always good getting into a good discussion with you about
Nephi.
guns. And congratulations on your new radio show, which I do listen to when I'm in my car. And I appreciate you coming in. As I actually called into his show like a month ago. Yeah, he doesn't remember.
I want to say this,
I did.
Nephi. Personally, even with the conversations that we're having, if I needed somebody to protect me, I would definitely choose you. And I would, if I wanted to learn about gun safety, which I actually do, I would trust you to teach me about it.
That is true. Nephi does know how to use his guns. That's for sure. If I was ever in a dangerous situation, I would certainly want him there with a gun. There's no question about that. Nephi, thank you so much for joining us. I
You're
appreciate
welcome,
it.
guys.
Welcome back anytime, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Have a good one.
Take care. All right. That is Nephi Kaliki. We certainly don't agree on everything, but I do appreciate the discussion, and I appreciate him coming up. All right. When we come back, Donald Trump had some statements to make about his E. Jean Carroll rape civil case. You're not going to believe what he said in his deposition. We'll have it coming up for you next. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Do you want to take your business to the next level? Then join one of the fastest growing talk shows, Pushing the Limits. We have a wide range of sales packages that can fit your budget. Anything from on-site live remotes to in-studio interviews. Email Jamie at jamie.ksHP.com. That's JAIMEDEE@KSHP.com.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
The best choice for convenience, comfort, and value, My Place hotels are ideal for both short-term and long-term travelers. The rooms at My Place features pillow-top mattresses, microfiber bedding, and a variety of soft and firm pillows. All extended stay rooms offer their own kitchen, which includes a full-size refrigerator and a cooktop. On-site laundry facilities are also available for extended stays at pet-friendly My Place hotels. Book your stays online at myplacehotels.com. My Place Hotels, St. George and West Jordan, Utah. Make My Place your place.
KSHP North Las Vegas, 107.1 FM, 1400 AM, K29 6HP North Las Vegas, and online at kshp.com.
All right, welcome back. Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thanks so much for joining us. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we got Chris Matthews, Channel 8, is going to be joining us. Big win last night for VGK, up 2-1 out there in Edmonton, eh? They took care of business. We'll talk to Chris about that. Tell you guys about my good friends at Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care. They're located at Sahara and Jones, right down the street from the station. No appointment needed. I was in and out of there in 20 minutes. Man, I got to tell you, man, they'll take care of you. They took care of me. Whatever issues you're facing health-wise, they got your back. Give them a call, 702-248-0554. You can also visit them online, SaharaWestUrgentCare.com, and tell them that I sent you. Somebody that needs some help, certainly with his head, would be Donald Trump, that's for sure. Donald J. Trump. Well, every Donald Trump. Eric Trump, Don Trump Jr., as I like to call them, Uday and Kusei. So Donald Trump is in the midst. Well, I shouldn't say it's in the midst because the case is now officially over. This is breaking news. While a jury did not find Donald Trump is a rapist, they did find him liable in a battery charge, and they've awarded Jean Carroll $2 million, which I find weird and interesting because they're saying, well, okay, he's not a rapist, but he did... We are going to say that he battered her, or a battery charge. Weird decision here, but they are saying that Donald Trump is liable there civilly. I want to play you a little bit of his deposition because there are a couple things he said here that are just, I don't know how anybody can vote for this guy. But if you remember in the deposition, Donald Trump's infamous Hollywood tape where he's coming out of that bus and he says, grab him by the P word. Well, he was asked about that. And he was asked about that in his deposition under oath. Have a listen to what he had to say about that.
And you say, and again, this has become very famous in this video, I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the you can do anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well, historically, that's true with stars.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the...
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
And you consider yourself to be a star?
I think you can say that, yeah.
Oh, my. Unfortunately or fortunately, by the way, that's also what he said. And he's basically saying that, yeah, if you're a celebrity, this is the way it's always been. You could just grab them by the P word. This is a man who people voted for president of the United States, who will still vote for him. But wait, Jamie,
there's more.
It gets worse. Yeah, exactly. He's claiming in this clip, by the way, under oath, that this woman, E. Jean Carroll, enjoyed being sexually assaulted. Yeah, I'm not making this stuff up. Have a listen to this.
She actually indicated that she loved it. Okay, she loved it until commercial break. In fact, I think she said it was sexy, didn't she? It was very sexy to be raped. Didn't she say that?
So, sir, I just want to confirm. It's your testimony that E. Jean Carroll said that she loved being sexually assaulted by you?
Well, based on her interview with Anderson Cooper, I believe that's what took place. We can define that. You'll have to show that.
Okay, so not true. I watched the entire interview with Anderson Cooper. She never said she enjoyed being sexually assaulted. That is a lie. Donald Trump lied under oath, and it's so ridiculous. I mean, he's basically telling on himself. I'm amazed that the jury didn't find him liable, or civilly at least, for rape, because I believe he is a rapist. And they found him This is almost like the O.J. case all over again in some aspect, right? Where in the O.J. Simpson case, he was found not guilty of double murder. I think we all would probably agree he's a double murderer based on the evidence. But then civilly, he was liable. But here in the civil case, they're saying, well, he's not civilly liable for rape, but for battery. We all know what that means. You know, this is ridiculous. And by the way, it's a history, too. It's not just one woman. 25 plus women have accused Donald Trump of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife, in court documents. And then in court documents, he paid off his ex-wife, and she shot that down, and she stopped talking about how her husband at the time was a rapist. She said under oath in court documents that Donald Trump was a rapist. 25 other women. So yeah, I believe E. Jean Carroll. I do. I believe it. I believe her.
Brian, the biggest thing that I can say about Donald Trump is that he is the most reviewed and sought after reality star. And I tell you, he's a master at deploying shock value. He's a master at it. A lot of the things that he says, I just can't believe that he would say those things. But also, when we see what Donald Trump does, it makes more people act like him. What I mean by that is they feel as though that they can say whatever they want to say and truly mean it. And I think that's a lot of people. I don't think he's wrong what he said, that a lot of people who have money, who are in positions of powers, do believe they can get away with grabbing women by the P word. And it sucks to say, but a lot of people in power do believe that just because women are letting it happen, they want it to happen, which is not true. And this is why I can also believe the victim as well, because just because you believe you had power and the money to do so does not mean it should have actually been done.
Yeah. Basically what by the way, what the jury said was that, well, you might be a rapist, you might not, but we're just going to charge you $2 million, basically, for battery. Might be a rapist, might not. Here, we're going to make you pay off $2 million. That's basically what the jury did. This is a very difficult case. Any rape case without DNA or physical evidence is very, very difficult to prove.
Let me ask you this. How does this make you think he views women?
Well, it's not how, I mean, just look at his history of the way he's treated women over the years, the way he's talked, the cheating, the scandals, having unprotected sex with a porn star months after Melania had Barron.
Do you think he views women as low on the totem pole? Do you believe that he doesn't respect women?
Based on what he said, I'm not sure how anybody could think otherwise. Based on his comments about women, comments on looks, comments about his political rivals, their wives, saying that you can't be a perfect 10. Let's just look at the comments he made on the Howard Stern show. If you're flat-chested, I mean, the despicable statements that he's made over and over again about women, just his history, multiple wives with multiple kids, the constant cheating, downgrading women based on their physical appearance. He does it all the time. He's a despicable human being. And yes, to answer, I mean, just based on what he's said over the years, even in the last year, you could say that he has no respect for women. And it's unfortunate. It's disgusting. It's despicable. This is the face of the Republican Party.
Let me ask you this, because you ask a lot of women this question, especially like Michelle Mortensen. Michelle, how do you say her last name?
Michelle Mortensen. Yeah.
Mortensen.
You were right.
Okay. I was say you gave me a look, so I was confused.
No.
I was like, oh, okay. So like you asked Michelle, how could she vote for Trump? Why do you think women are voting for Trump when this is how he truly views them?
Might be the same reason why a lot of women voted for Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, in my opinion, is also a rapist. Bill Clinton is a womanizer, a rapist. When it comes to women, I think Bill Clinton and Donald Trump probably have a lot in common. Same reason why Democrats voted for Bill Clinton. They'll make excuses. Well, we like his policies. We think he's intelligent. He's a good speaker. I don't believe the women. You know, the excuses go on and on and on. So I think it goes both ways when it comes to Bill Clinton and when it comes to Donald Trump.
So you think women just sweep his actual views on them under the rug because the policies make more sense?
In this cases, some of these conservative women, they call themselves conservative, good Christian women. They just hate Joe Biden so much and they hate Democrats so much. They're willing to overlook the fact that the man that they are voting for probably is a rapist. And that's really sad. It's
sad.
really unfortunate. It's a weird place we're living in today, and it's happened before. Like I said, I believe Bill Clinton is a rapist. But, you know, it's unfortunate. And, you know, make no mistake about it. You know, I say this all the time. I mean, Trump is a despicable human being. Well, Brian, I like some of his policies. I mean, it's like, come on, what was that? The policies that helped January 6th happen? The statements that he's made about that, his attacks on our democracy. I mean, it's just, you know, enough is enough. I'm not a big Joe Biden fan. I'd love to see somebody else in there. But you bet it. If I had Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, I vote for Joe Biden any day of the week. Might not agree with all of his policies, but I know he's a decent human being with empathy. He's a decent man that's not going to incite violence. He's a decent man that's not going to have another January 6th on our hands. Far from perfect. I want somebody younger in office. Don't agree with all of his policies. But I will take Joe Biden over Donald Trump any day of the week. Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. He is a threat to this country. And, you know, just because somebody says, well, I like a few of his policies. I like this policy. I like that policy. You know, let's go, Brandon. You know, I have no, in 2023, I have no respect for you if those are your beliefs. People that voted for Donald Trump in 2016, that's fine. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton either. I didn't vote for Trump, but I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton either. But at this point, if you would still support Donald Trump, I have no respect for you.
So it was fine in 16, but not fine in 20.
I'm not saying it was fine. I regret.
You literally just said it.
No, I'm not. Well,
you literally just said it.
What I'm saying is I understand it. What I mean by fine is because a lot of people didn't know the type of president Donald Trump would be. A lot of people, including me, thought that the rhetoric would be toned down. Thought that he would actually.
Wait, you thought that he would tone it down if he became a president? How?
Well, because I saw him. Do you remember his visit to the White House when he visited Barack Obama? Do you remember that? Do you remember his demeanor then? What was his demeanor like?
I mean, I guess it wasn't as crazy as it was, but then again, he had a whole different team.
Well, not really. I mean, he had a staff with him at that time. No, he had the same staff.
Were they the same staff?
Yeah, a lot of them were the same. Okay. Anyway, he acted like a normal person that day, and I said, you know what? This might work out.
I'm telling you, he's the master of deploying shock value. He knows what he's doing. He is the world's biggest reality star right now, and he does a good job of keeping his names in the headlines. I personally believe all this stuff is still making him money.
Well, right now, all this stuff is still making him money. There's a lot of stuff that is going to cost him money as well, but certainly some of the stuff is still making him money. I agree with that. But anyway, these comments he made about Jean Carroll are just disgusting. It's deplorable. I don't know how you can vote for a guy like that who is accused of rape and then says the woman enjoyed being sexually assaulted. If you didn't sexually assault her, then why would you even make that statement to begin with? He lied about an interview she did with Anderson Cooper, and then he basically said that, yeah, if you're a celebrity, he basically doubled down in his comments about grabbing women by the P word. That's the man that you would vote for? I find it hard to believe. Anyway, we got to take a break. And we're going to switch topics here. Speaking of high sticks, let's talk a little VGK hockey. Coming up next, Chris Matthews from Channel 8 Sports will be joining us. Huge win for the Vegas Golden Knights yesterday. And I mean, as Donald Trump would say, huge. They're up 2-1 against the Edmonton Oilers. So when we come back, we'll be joined by Chris Matthews, Channel 8, to talk a little bit about that. How big is Game 4? Oh, boy. We'll get to that coming up next. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. He's Jamie D. I'm Brian Shapiro. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Gwynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Gwynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines, beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though, Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. My favorite gaming bar in town. Please check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill. They got great promotions this month. Wednesday, if you earn 200 points, you get to spin the wheel to win up to 3,000. Another 300 points, you get to spin the wheel again. And then on Fridays, if you earn 1,500 points, you get $100 in free play the next day on Saturday. That's the entire month of May. Please check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill. Great food, great atmosphere. I was over there yesterday. Always a lot of fun at Jackson's Bar and Grill. Say hello to Mr. Brian Slipbock for me. So, I was out there last night watching the Vegas Golden Knights game, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, score's tied, or I should say the series is tied 1-1. Usually the team that wins Game 3, usually 80% of the time wins the series. Monster game last night in Edmonton, and I got to tell you, boy, did the Vegas Golden Knights rise to the occasion after a snoozer of a Game 2 where they were disappointing. They were just as good as they were bad in Game 2. And the guy joining us right now on the line, of course, I'm talking about Channel 8's very own Chris Matthews covering the Vegas Golden Knights. Chris, good to have you on, my friend. How are you?
Hey, thank you, Brian. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, I'll tell you what. You're right. As bad as they looked on Saturday, and everybody was walking out, and Shea Theodore's wife was all upset on social media how fans were leaving. How bad they looked on Saturday, they looked that awesome on Monday night.
It's so weird, the sport of hockey, isn't it, Chris? Because, and even Connor McDavid talked about it after Game 3. He was like, yeah, we were really happy with our performance in Game 2. And then, 48 hours later, we're in the opposite end of this, and we're really disappointed. Let's start with Edmonton before we get to all the good things that the Vegas Golden Knights did last night. Were you surprised at not only the goaltending issues last night for Edmonton, but it just seemed like they came out really flat?
Yeah, they you know what, they look kind of like how the Knights did in Game 2, because in Game 1, if you remember back to that first game in the series, how the Knights had that extra step, that little bit of quickness, and they were just getting to the forecheck up and down the ice. You just kind of had a pretty good feeling, well, this team is ready to play. And then, boy, watching Game 2, you said, where is that team? And they just weren't there, and they were a step slow. They were committing penalties, which is something you do not want to do. You do not want to give the Edmonton Oilers a power play opportunity. And then last night it was kind of similar, and Edmonton seemed like they were just a bit off. I think that's what hockey's all about. It's so crazy, the NHL postseason, how things can just flip. I mean, look at Boston, the best team ever in the National Hockey League with points and its record, and they're out. They're watching this thing from home.
I agree with you, and hockey's a weird sport. The best team usually doesn't always win in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Boston, I had them winning it all. Let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about Adin Hill, Chris, because here's a guy who's been hurt. He hasn't seen a lot of action at all lately. He comes into what is an enormous hockey game. Let's call it what it is. Last night was a huge game. Not that every game isn't important, but Game 3, after the team had a doozy of a performance at home, you put Adin Hill in net. And I thought he was nothing short of fantastic. I just think it starts with him, and you got to give him a ton of credit. 25 saves, big game for him.
Oh, yeah, phenomenal game. And afterwards he was fired up. Of course, the players were too, as he comes off the ice with his first postseason win ever. So that guy had some big saves. I mean, when you watch that game and you see some of the saves that he had and some of the moves that he had to make to get to the puck and to stop the puck, because didn't you think, I have to be honest with you, when Brossoit went down, I'm thinking, this is going to be tough for the Knights to win this thing now. I mean, I think a lot of people probably thought that same way, but Adin Hill comes in, surprised everybody except for his teammates and himself and the coaches, and played a phenomenal game with those saves. And I think he surprised a lot of people. Hey, okay, here we go. But that's just how this team's been really all season long, right? One player goes down, another has to step up. It's next man up mentality. And really, for the injuries this team has suffered through the last couple of years, really, that's kind of how it's had to be.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm really happy for Adin Hill. Seems like a really good dude. And I was really happy for him, and I know the entire team was. So now we look to Game 4. For Edmonton, I mean, I'll call it a must-win game. I don't think they're beating the Vegas Golden Knights 3 games in a row to win this series. This game Edmonton has to have. And then if you're the Vegas Golden Knights, you say to yourself, all right, now we put them in a stronghold situation where, we go up 3-1 and heading back home. We're in the driver's seat. I know a series is never over, but all the pressure clearly is going to be on Edmonton in Game 4. You'd expect you're going to get Edmonton's best game come Game 4, right?
Oh, yeah, you won't see. I would doubt very much that you'll see Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl once again kind of shut out on the scorebook. It just doesn't happen. I mean, this Draisaitl especially has been phenomenal in the postseason. It's like every single point that the Oilers score, somehow he's involved, whether it's a helper or it's a goal himself. It just seems like he's always on the score sheet. So that was really surprising yesterday that those two didn't do a thing in the game. Yeah. But, credit the Golden Knights. They were playing really well, playing fast, playing hard. You could sense it that this was a really important game for them. It just seems like, I mean, it's just a big-time cliche, but doesn't it just seem like they wanted it a little more than the Oilers? And then you see the results, a nice 5-1 win. But, yeah, you're right, that Game 4 is going to be so big. Because if the Knights somehow win that thing and come home Friday with a chance to close out the series, I'll tell you what, the Fortress will be absolutely rocking.
Yeah. No question. And you mentioned, I think the Vegas Golden Knights, one thing they have is pride, man. They were all embarrassed and disappointed with the way they played in Game 2 at home in front of their home fans. and they showed pride. They manned up. They all did their job, and they were all talking about how they were challenging their defensemen as well, who I thought were phenomenal yesterday, getting in the right spots. Their forecheck was probably the best it's been in the playoffs, I think, in the game last night. They were just everywhere on the puck. They won the physical battles. They won the battles at the blue line in the neutral zone. They really won every facet of the game, and I think these Edmonton fans, particularly in the third period, they were very quiet, and it seemed like they were stunned, Chris.
Yeah, they were about as stunned as the Golden Knights fans who were leaving the Fortress early on Saturday were stunned. It was, this hockey is it's such a great sport when you think about it, how these NHL playoffs unfold and how one team can look so high, the other team can look so bad, and then a couple days later, it just absolutely flips. And it's crazy how that works. But I'm actually looking forward. And it was nice to see Jonathan Marchessault finally score a couple of goals.
Yes.
He'd been shut out in the postseason. So, man, he bangs 2 in, and they got the lead. They never looked back. So those 2 goals, we can't forget Jonathan Marchessault played a big. And then Jack Eichel, a goal and a couple of assists. Here's a guy that was drafted number 2 right behind Connor McDavid in that draft. And he goes to Buffalo, kind of obscure up there. And every NHL fan knows how great Jack Eichel is.
Oh, yeah.
He was kind of hidden up there in Buffalo. Where he comes here now, he's a big part of the show, and he's a Golden Knight, and he's getting what he deserves. His first ever postseason playoff experience, and he's making the most of it. I feel happy for him also.
Yeah, I agree with you. Eichel's had a great postseason. He's been having fun out there, scoring goals. Being Jack Eichel, being the guy that we expect. He's a superstar in this league. We like how you mentioned Marshy. He had a goal yesterday. I like the way Mark Stone is playing. And it just seems like, Chandler Stevenson had a big goal. That was an unbelievable, pretty goal that he shot in midair. It was really unbelievable coordination. And, just an all-around great team win. We're going to have to wait and see what happens in Game 4, but I'll tell you, this series has been exciting. The NHL playoffs have been really exciting this year. A lot of wild scores and crazy wins, but Game 4 is going to be interesting. And I know if you're a Vegas Golden Knights fan, if you're on this team, on the coach, nothing more you'd want to have than be going back to Las Vegas. It'll be an enjoyable flight home from Edmonton to Vegas. If somehow they can win Game 4 going back 3-1, if it's tied 2-2, anything could happen. One mistake could change the outcome of this series, but you're going back home 3-1. It's a very enjoyable flight home.
Yeah, and really, that would be the ideal situation. But going up there, they said, hey, now if we can go up there and at least get a split. So they got the split at least. So now they're coming home. Worst case scenario, it's a new series. It's now a best of 3. And so it's going to be fun. That Friday night, regardless, is going to be a big game. That's going to be a pivotal, huge game. So I'm excited about what this team does. It's just it's kind of brought that fun back with that big win. Now we'll see what happens tomorrow night and then Friday.
Can't wait. And gosh, there's so much going to be talking about here in the next couple months. It seems like the college football season is right around the corner with Odom's new era, and then we got right around the corner, we got the Raiders season. We've got the Las Vegas Aces season, which is right around the corner. They're already opened up training camp. So, boy, we're going to have a lot to talk about with you in the next couple months, Chris, but I always appreciate your time. And go Knights. Look forward to the game tomorrow, and we'll have you on again soon. And always appreciate the time. You and Ron Futrell are the best, even when Ron gives me crap at games and we get into debates. Ron's a great guy. So are you. You guys do a great job over there at 8. You know how much I respect what you guys do over there. And always a pleasure having you on, Chris. Thank you so much.
Chris. Well, thank you very much, guys. I certainly appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Chris, as always. That's Chris Matthews, everybody. Channel 8, they do a great job over there. Chris is a great guy and a pretty good golfer, by the way, I might add. Chris can get the golf ball out there pretty good for a man his age. I'm making it sound like he's old. He's really not. Chris is great. Have you ever played golf, Jamie? I don't think I ever asked you.
I've played golf once, and I've also been a top golf. So
can you get the golf ball in the air?
Yeah, I just swing at it.
It's hard though.
Am I good? Absolutely not.
Golf is hard. It's also very frustrating.
Absolutely not.
I've been known.
Now I'll get the ball in the air and I'll hit a tree, but it's still in the air.
So you play golf like Chris Wynn. That's basically what you're saying.
Yep.
Well, golf can be a very frustrating sport from time to time. No question about that. Something else I wanted to mention is that the Lakers played the Golden State Warriors last night, and I picked the Lakers to win this series, by the way. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, and it really pains me to say this because I'm not a LeBron James fan. And Anthony Davis yesterday was phenomenal, by the way. Davis has been great in this series. And I told you he would be the X factor in this series. If LeBron James wins an NBA championship this year, which, by the way, I absolutely believe they can.
I do believe he can as well.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. Marcus Banks is going to say, I told you. Well, Marcus Banks thinks that LeBron is the GOAT. He's the best player of all time. I wouldn't go that far yet. But if LeBron wins an NBA championship, he's got to be in my top 5 this year. He's got to.
He said that.
He's got to. He's been great. Anthony Davis has been great. To be honest with you, the acquisitions that they made in getting D'Angelo Russell and a couple other key additions a few months back was the changing of the guard for this Laker team, in my opinion. They had some great acquisitions. They are playing at a very high level, and I think the Golden State Warriors, if you remember, they barely squeaked by the Sacramento Kings in the first round, and I think that took a lot out of them. When you go 7 games in a series, it takes a lot out of you. Lakers look like the younger team, believe it or not, and Golden State's the younger team, right? I also think Draymond Green. We've talked about Draymond Green on this show before. I think this is
the Lakers look like the younger team.
They look like the younger team. Age-wise, they're not, but
even with LeBron too.
They look more fresh out
even
there.
LeBron.
They look like
this is a whole different thought process than you had last week.
Well, not really, because I said the Lakers would win the series.
The
reason why
you said
no,
that
I did.
LeBron was out of his prime. He
well,
looks
that's different.
old out there.
No,
but now he looks young.
I didn't say he looks old out there. I said he's not in his prime, which he's not still. But I also did pick the Lakers though to win this series, and the reason why I did, 2 reasons. Golden State barely got by Sacramento. That takes a lot out of you in Game 7 on the road. They had to win. Took 50 points from Steph Curry. And number 2, the Lakers are healthy. I do find it interesting that somehow, ironically, the Lakers are healthy come playoff time. It's interesting, isn't it? But
I mean,
anyway.
people get a fire under their butt when it comes to these type of times.
Well, of course, they're resting players,
Yeah.
and LeBron basically gets paid $50 million a year just for the playoffs. But the Lakers are playing at a very high level. That was a big win last night, even though it was home, because Golden State really had to win that game. Now the Lakers are up 3-1, and I don't see Golden State winning this series. I mean, they could, but I don't see them winning 3 in a row against LA. And then you're looking at the Western Conference Finals, and it appears as though the Denver Nuggets are going to be playing. And the series isn't over against Phoenix, but it appears as though most likely it's going to be the Denver Nuggets versus the LA Lakers. I like the Lakers in that series. I really do. As much as I like Jokic and as much as I think he's just a phenomenal player, I think Anthony Davis can cause problems for him. Anthony Davis is more athletic. He's got better footwork. Jokic is a phenomenal player, but yeah, NBA playoffs are getting fun. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm enjoying that. I wanted to get your take before we go here today, Jamie. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Richard Dreyfuss. So Richard Dreyfuss, I've always been a big fan of ever since his days in the Jaws movies. I've always been a big Richard Dreyfuss fan. I think he's a phenomenal actor, very gifted actor. I've always liked him. So, the Oscars have this new diversity protocol when it comes to Oscars and that sort of thing. And some people agree with it, some people disagree with it. But Richard Dreyfuss said that he wanted to vomit when he saw the new, I guess you could call them bylaws when it comes to the Oscars. He didn't have a lot of nice things to say about them. He thought that these new diversity rules were beyond outrageous. I wanted to get your thoughts on that because, the history of the Oscars, a lot of people feel like the Oscars have been, there's racism. There's been racism in the history of the Oscars, and that certain people haven't won awards because of the color of their skin over the years. It's gotten much better over the course of the last 40, 30, 20, 10 years, even the last 5 years. I don't know what you think about these new diversity rules, but what do you think about Richard Dreyfuss speaking out against them in the strongest possible way?
So I just want to make it clear what some of these rules are. All of them aren't stated currently. I don't have time to state all of them. But one of the biggest ones that obviously Richard Dreyfuss doesn't like is that officials announced in 2020 that beginning in 2024, movies must meet certain criteria for representation to be eligible for Academy Award for Best Picture. Certain films must meet at least 2 of 4 benchmarks, so which cover, among other things, whether the lead actors are from underrepresented groups or at least 30% of the cast and crew are from these underrepresented groups. My thing is, they didn't say that all movies have to be black people as the lead actors, gay people, Hispanic people as the lead actors. They also said that the cast and crew can be from among these groups as well, a.k.a. crew, those who are not on the film. And I think a lot of times when people are in these places of power, they think, oh, well, just the way people think about immigrants coming into America. They're coming to take our jobs. No, you still will have all the jobs. We're just finally getting a place in the same field that you're in. 30% is nothing huge. 30% isn't a huge number because majority of people who are still in the industry are Caucasian people and are still Caucasian men. You're not going to lose your job. You're not going to lose your representation, and you're certainly not going to lose your look in the media. But when you say things like this is why people don't want. This is why I say Donald Trump did a good job of making people be who they truly are, because this when you have people like Richard Dreyfuss who says this makes me want to vomit. Why? Why does it make you want to vomit that others get the chance to be who you are? Why does it make you vomit that people get the chance to try to chase the same dreams you had the privilege to chase? I hate stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't really speak for Richard Dreyfuss. I guess his frustration is he doesn't want somebody getting a job over somebody white just because of the color of their skin. He doesn't want somebody getting an Oscar.
They didn't say that you're going to get a job over somebody who's white. They're saying that 30% of the cast and crew must come from these groups. Mm-hmm. That means 70% can still be all white. Yeah. You know what? You know the difference between 70% and 30%, right? 70 is majority, 30 is minority. Still the minority in all cases.
Yeah, but okay, so I have mixed feelings on this.
What's your thoughts?
What are the black people in this country? What is the percentage of black people in this country?
Well, I have to Google that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to Google that.
Can't ask me the statistic.
I'm pretty
I don't
sure
know.
it's not 30%. And
wait, pause. Why'd you say that?
I don't think 30% of the people in this country that are. I think it's lower than that.
It's 13.6.
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah, I didn't think it was like 30.
Why are you saying that?
So I'll tell you why. Because you're saying that a movie cannot be made unless 30%.
It didn't say it cannot be made.
So what are they saying then?
It said, I'm going to repeat it one more time. And I'll go slow. Officials announced in 2020 that beginning in 2024, movies must meet certain criteria for representation to be eligible for the Academy Award for Best Picture.
Right.
Films have to meet at least 2 of 4 benchmarks, which cover, among other things, one of them being whether the lead actors are from underrepresented groups or if at least 30% of the cast and crew come from these groups.
Yeah, so here's my problem with that. I've always been a firm believer that it should be who is best qualified for the job, not the color of their skin. And
I agree.
What you're basically saying, or what they are basically saying, is doesn't matter whether somebody's qualified or not. You must reach that 30% threshold to qualify for the Oscar. Now, I can tell you right now, in society, in sports, listen, in the history of this country, there is no question systemic racism exists. And there's no question that in our society, people are hired because they're white and not black. That's happened in our society, and that's wrong. But I feel the same way the other way. I don't think you should be hired because you're black and not white. And
Brian,
I can tell you that's wrong also.
So this will be a way longer conversation than 2 minutes. We have to get off the air soon. But what I want you to understand is that 30% of underrepresented groups, that means men, women, black, Hispanic, gay, trans, and so many other demographics. It does not just mean black people. As well, you made a statement there, which I'm low-key kind of forgetting, is that you said that, see, I just forgot because the music just started playing. Geez, what'd you say? You said, 'cause I really want to talk about that. You said something along the lines, I forget it, whatever. I think you said something along the lines of, I really cannot remember because now I'm feeling rushed. Right. But I do want to make this point that, okay, now I'm starting to get it again. You said that people should be getting the jobs because they are good, they're better for it, right? However, when you're thinking about who's better for a job, of course, majority of people who are better for jobs are going to be Caucasian people because they get more of the education, they get more of the resources, and they have more of the privilege to chase different jobs that we as minorities, and I'm not saying black people, I said minorities, don't get to chase. A lot of people don't have the degrees that a lot of the Caucasian counterparts have, don't have the experience, and also, even if they do, aren't even getting the same type of position to do those things and prove themselves. So having rules like this in place is great for those who either do have the degree or who have some type of experience that could do the job just as well, but maybe overlooked because of their Caucasian counterparts.
Well, I think if it's a prerequisite and you need an education, then I think the person with the highest education probably should get the job. When it comes to
just because you have a high education doesn't mean anything.
It depends on the job. If we're talking about acting, you don't need an education. Just like in basketball or football or baseball or any sport, really, you don't need an education to be a professional athlete. So I think it depends on the job. Specifics. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of what Richard Dreyfuss said, but I'm also not a big fan of this 30% threshold. And you're right, this is probably a longer conversation than we have today. Longer. So we could definitely touch on this topic perhaps tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate it as always. Thanks to Nephi for joining us as well. And we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Peace out.